Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry coming to you from two separate studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. Every Tuesdays and Thursday at 3 p.m., we bring you a live stream of progressive news and views that maybe you can use to help you in your day. Right here on Facebook. You can find all of our previous works at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, on Twitter, on YouTube, on every podcast platform, and proudly part of the Demcast USA network. Marie, what I did not miss during COVID in 2020 was mass shootings. And today we're going to talk about one that is at the forefront of everybody's mind today, the horrific violence down in Atlanta against women um, at some massage parlors. And when Marie and I first heard this story, we thought it was simply a case of Asian violence. There's been a lot
No,
of
I
hate.
want to correct there. I didn't. I
Okay,
want to say,
okay.
from my
You did
perspective,
it.
when this first story came out, yes, there was definitely a component that was undeniable because they were connected. But the media really jumped on it being an Asian hate crime without
Right. I meant the
digging
media, not media, but
into.
the
Yeah,
media.
I know. I was like,
I,
yeah, just
I saw it as a
clarifying.
violence against women
I
thing
saw
issue, and
both did. Heidi and I were like, this is violence against women. We've done shows on sex trafficking. We've done shows on legal prostitution, on the status of women in the world. So for Heidi and I, it came to us immediately as a crime against women. And it was about 24, it was about 12 hours later that the media had some more information. And the
yeah,
more information that emerges, such as the suspect was a young white evangelical pastor's son who felt he had a sex addiction. All that played into the narrative. But as we're unrolling this and as we're talking about this, we realize that it doesn't matter what the driving force was, that there are so many layers of that we have to address all of them or it doesn't do it justice. So it's not it's a crime. It's a hate crime. It's an Asian hate crime. It's a woman hate crime. It's a human hate crime. Because as Heidi said, as we go through this, I think Heidi, one of the most brilliant things I heard you say. Please tell them what you said.
which time?
She does say a lot of brilliant things. What you said about the suspect who's in custody,
Well,
that he didn't see them as human.
he, you know, he didn't see them just from my outsider view looking in. And Marie and I look at a lot of crimes against women. We are the majority of the people that inhabit this planet, but we're in the minority in our voice. We don't get to have even an equal say in most countries, and not even in the United States, where we have the most. Well, we have a lot of equality, but we're not equal. And him being a white Christian male goes in, and a lot of these, some of you have probably been into some of these massage places because they offer hair and or nails and mani pedis and stuff, facials and whatnot, in addition to massage services. And often you'll see a Buddhist shrine right inside the door. So clearly to him, they were not Christian, they were not white, they were not male, they were not entitled to live. When he felt that he was frustrated and that somebody had to pay for it, it wasn't going to be him that had to pay for his obsessions, his issues. It was going to have to be these women. And there was some men that were just, one guy was just walking by to cash a check and was killed. Um, there were a couple of men killed in this as well, but mostly it was women that worked in these spas. And,
And so right there,
Marie,
Heidi, as you talk about that, there's like six layers of hate we got to go through, right? Right
right,
in
right. Do
describing
you
what
hate
happened.
Buddhists? Do you
The
hate
religious
non-white? Do you hate
hate.
Asians?
Do you hate women? Do
Yeah.
you hate non-whites? Do you hate Asian women because they are sexualized in our society to be
Oh my
being
God. Yeah.
quiet,
Exotic.
demure, and listening to so many people, so many women in the Pan Asian community and
Mhm.
friends of mine who are in that community. One of the things they talk about is, they're expected to be a certain way. They're expected to be quiet. They're expected to be demure. They're expected to be well behaved. And growing up like that, society reinforces that idea on them, which puts them as less of being a human than human. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the idea that
Well,
they're geishas, that they are sex
right.
slaves, that
I can't.
that they have to do what you tell them to do. That takes away the humanity by dehumanizing them.
Anybody who has seen Mulan, the Disney picture, knows that Mulan was being schooled to be this demure person when really she was a warrior, you know. And Lucy Liu has played some fabulous female warriors over the years, and several other women. But um, when I think about him, this man having so much self-loathing, he couldn't take responsibility for his own self-loathing. He had to kill somebody. Um,
And that's
and
another
I'm
part
not
of it,
sure
Heidi.
what.
I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Another part of this aspect that came up for me was finding out that he was raised in a very right leaning evangelical home in an evangelical community. And his dad was a
You know that
pastor.
by his
And
haircut.
most of the PK, because of course, pastors' kids are PKs, most of the PKs I knew were definitely in the either afraid because their families were so strict, or I'm a rebel without a cause. But the whether whichever side they were
Oh,
on, religion and it was such a dominant force in their life, an expectation and behavior that it sets pressure on them to be even greater than what, say, a regular church going family who goes to church and then goes to Bible study on Wednesdays and church tea on Fridays. It's a
see,
different level of pressure put on
right.
it than if you're a pastor's kid, because they're the pinnacle and epitome. It's like Footloose, right? The pastor's kid wanted to dance and he outlawed it or something like that. But that's
Well,
sort of
once
the
again,
idea, especially within communities.
and you can't lump all pastors' kids together because certainly
Right, right.
in the
I'm
Episcopal
saying
Church
on
that I'm part of,
average.
academics might be pushed really hard, but I don't think, the holier than thou thing is really discouraged in that because nobody's holier than
Well,
thou.
that's your
But
faith too. I'm talking the overreaching argument for
it should be
sects of
symbol.
Christianity that are far to the right, reinforce the notion that women should be quiet and demure, reinforce the notion that they're baby factories, that they should be home in the kitchen, reinforce the notion that anyone who isn't white and of your evangelical or whatever your religious sect is a bad person. That is what we're talking about. Not all of them, please. I know you have a great church you go to, and I know many people love their churches, but the difference is those are radical clusters that are the worst of society being reinforced, I guess is what I think.
Yeah.
And then you see it though.
Um, you
No,
know,
just a second. Not only do you have the kid who's got some self hatred, as we were talking about, whether it's from himself or God or the church, but you have a sheriff in the county whose
oh my God, the sheriff.
employee bought and was wearing a Kung Flu Go Home anti-Asian T-shirts
We're talking
at
about Jay
organizational
Baker.
events, right? Huh?
Jay Baker, sheriff of Cherokee County. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago, Marie and I did a show called Does Your Sheriff Have an Alt-Right Connection? And I have not been able to connect him. And I went down this long rabbit hole because I thought of it like half an hour before we were going on the air. And, but I do wonder if he's part of FAIR or SHARE or CISPA, because that's a pretty racist t-shirt to wear and promote. The Kung
While
Flu shirt that he was
while
promoting.
you are one of the
Public
highest
servant!
levels of law in the county, and then what the sheriff
Inexcusable,
said,
Marie.
the sh-
Inexcusable. Inexcusable. Inexcusable, inexcusable, inexcusable. There is no way on earth that anybody in charge of law enforcement who's taken an oath to the U.S. Constitution, who is there to uphold the law, should have racist, bigoted leanings, misogynist leanings. Period. End of sentence. unacceptable, 100%, Murray. It gets people killed. It happens to people like George Floyd. It happens to these women in these massage parlors. It happens to people all the time because our sheriff's departments, not all of them, not you, Tom Templeton, my sheriff, but so many sheriffs have connections to an alt-right universe that is 100% unacceptable in 2021, Murray. There's
So,
no
layer
excuse for
one,
what he did.
disaffected
Yeah.
young man. Layer two, fear of God, sin, pressure from family. Layer three, community frowning upon because of the strong religious beliefs. Layer four, the leaders of your community saying that Asians aren't actually human beings. And
Human.
then we throw on top of it legislative representatives. Okay, so folks, I'm just going to say right
Oh,
now,
God.
I'm
Oh,
doing my very
Murray.
best to restrict my swearing. Every swear word that comes
Yeah.
out of my mouth from this point
Or
forward,
mine.
or Heidi's, will be donated to AAPI Women Lead. It's an organization that supports leadership, understanding of racial and diversity, teaching women of the Asian American Pacific Islander to become leaders, to fight those stereotypes.
Yeah.
And we will be donating. And if we don't swear at all, because then we get censored, we will still be donating. So instead of our usual
Yes.
pitch, please donate to us if you like what we do, we would
Go,
like you to
go.
donate to
Yeah.
AAPI. And we'll put that link up at the end of
It's
our show.
stop hate AAPI.org. Check out that site. It's a wealth of information. And the only reason we have a lot of violence against Asian people right now, and Asian can mean a lot of different countries, Chip Roy. I just want you to know that not everybody of Asian descent is Chinese. I'm just saying, Chip Roy, Representative Chip Roy. But I want you to know that, you know, that it's our job as Americans to make sure that every American is in a safe place and that is free to move about the country and do their job and have their life, the life that God, whatever name they call them, gave them.
Everyone should be able to. And okay, so let's go back to
Right.
Chip Roy real quick here. And here's where
Oh
I'm
my
going to
God,
beep
Chip
and
Roy.
donate $1 for every
Texas.
beep that I do about this giant POS Chipperoy. So today on the Hill, there were multiple hearings. One was on in the House of Representatives that I'm referring to, and this hearing was to bring attention to the rise in hate crimes caused to the Pan Asian community from the
Donald
demonization of the
Trump.
coronavirus. All
Yeah.
right, it didn't say Donald Trump. But
Well,
those
you know,
myths, those hatreds, we've seen it all over the country. As we've opened up, there's been more and more crimes against Pan Asian people. And a lot of that has to ties to the white supremacy and racism that the former president encouraged, if not cheered on. So we have this representative. So the Congress today is having a hearing.
yeah.
And members of that hearing are members of the Pan Asian community. Ted Lieu, Mary, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll think of her name here in a second. And yeah, it just so happened that the head of the committee was not available to be there today, so Chip Roy filled in for him. Now, Chip Roy is a one of the people who has suspicions of being involved in connections to the insurrection itself. He is
Yep.
also a person that voted to challenge the results of the election. He
Yep.
also voted to deny yesterday
Yep.
the members of the Capitol Police that they were honoring with special medals because he objected to the term insurrection. So Chip
Yep.
Roy's a real delightful piece of work.
You know, if Texas can't be embarrassed enough by Ted Cruz, let's throw a Chip Roy in there. Chip Roy sounds like somebody who should be working at a ice cream parlor. Can I get another scoop for you, ma'am? Him and his get all the rope in Texas and hang people. Bite me, Chip Roy. You know what, Chip Roy? Not everybody of Asian descent is from China. The Chinese were as much victims of the coronavirus as we are. Everybody was victimized by a pathogen we could not and were not prepared to fight. You don't have to blame. We don't need a scapegoat for this. We
But
don't
what
need a
the whole
scapegoat.
point was
It
is
happened.
okay. So as he's speaking, right? I want to quote this
Hmm.
for our listeners, or as close.
Oh
This is
yeah,
a. It's not an
good.
exact quote, but once you see the video or read the article, you'll be able to tell.
Not
He
linking it,
said
Murray.
that he hates that there's no place for hatred, but really, I mean, come on. In Texas, we handle these things. We gather all the rope in Texas and find the tallest oak tree and get the bad guys. So there's your first hint at where Chipperoy's mind is. He's thinking of lynchings,
Just
and
before,
that's being an
yeah,
acceptable form of conversation in the middle of a hearing on hate crimes and violence against a certain group. And then it gets worse. He talks about how the BL. Then he says that they should basically be lynching the Black Lives Matter protesters who burned
yeah,
down
exactly.
buildings and
That's what I was
businesses.
gonna say.
And
Yeah.
then he wraps it up with a delightful little bow about how it's not their fault and that it is the First Amendment right. And he doesn't want to get into anything that would stifle rhetoric because screw your First Amendment. Okay. We've talked about this. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we just take the First Amendment away from everybody until they grow up and know how to use it.
Murray, you can't hide behind the First Amendment when you're out there to murder somebody. And not only did he murder 8 people, but he was on his way to Florida to murder people in the porn industry in Florida. I don't know how, Murray, I would not have any idea how to find people in the porn industry, period, much less find them in specifically Florida and then drive there with my guns to go get them. And this brings us to a bigger point about prostitution in the United States, sex trafficking, sex workers, because if he's a sex addict and you have to go to places that maybe only a massage parlor or may have off the menu stuff, we don't know because it wasn't part of the discussion. But we need to talk about legalized sex work here in the United States. We need to stop
Well,
pretending we're all
but there's a
Victorian.
whole other argument behind it that is, the dehumanization, which is what we started talking about. We dehumanize
Exactly.
women. That's why it's
Right.
okay to rape women. That's why it's okay for that's why the white Southerners felt like the white woman was too pure. It's that purity crap. And other women, other ethnicities of women are there for their sexual pleasure, for the white man's
Well,
pleasure, but not
well,
for anything else. And that's permeates through our culture.
yep. Only
Absolutely, and it's unacceptable.
we have to we have to remember that when the sheriff and the officials from Atlanta, not so much the officials from Atlanta, but the officials from Cherokee County held their news conferences, they merely said that he had a very bad day because he had a sex addiction. They didn't talk about the misogyny. Well, Marie, there was no talk about violence against Asians, violence against women, violence against
It should
you
not
know,
even be violence. It's
divorce.
freaking hate. We need to stop calling it violence.
It's
Hate.
hate.
It's hate. It's
There was
straight
so
up
much. There was
hate. And
so
yes,
many layers of
and they made an
dehumanizing.
excuse for this.
Made a freaking
He
excuse. I
said,
almost
and
did
I
it.
quote, he had a bad day. This guy
Hey,
must had a really bad day.
you
I'm
know,
sorry. I don't have no one has a bad day and takes out an AK-47 and shoots people at not one, not two, but three locations. He didn't go, "Oh, my brain, I have to kill sin," and shoot up
this was
one parlor. No, that
he
son
did
of a
3,
bitch had a
and they were
map and
far
plotted
apart.
it.
Yep, they were far apart. It's not like they were next door to each other. But Murray, yesterday I had a terrible day. I had a terrible day. Every single horse I taught lessons on was horrible. Every single student I was working with was distracted about homework or going back to school full time or whatever, or homeschooling or whatever. Nobody was rowing the boat with both oars yesterday. And a terrible day. I was so mad. I was ready to quit my job and I employ myself. I did not kill anybody. I didn't use any cuss
That's
words.
good.
I didn't get out my guns and shoot my horses,
Oh, I'm proud of
Nothing. Nothing.
you.
Well, all I thought is, God, I hope tomorrow's a better day. And I made sure it was.
I
But
love it.
this guy, this self-entitled
According to that,
white
but
man with
see,
his
wait,
haircut.
Heidi. Your bad day
Yeah,
would never be allowed because you're a woman.
that's
His bad
true.
day is allowed because he's a white boy, a good white boy, a good pastor's kid. He just had a
Yeah.
bad day. He didn't do anything. Just because we don't think of
Marie,
women as actually being
you know,
sentient beings or people of color as having the same worth, you
do you,
know.
do you know how do you know how the police found him on his way to Florida to go kill more people? Do you know how they
His
found
family
him?
turned him in, right?
Yep. They knew that he was a problem. And instead of saying last week, you know what? I think we need to get the sheriff involved because we have a problem. We have a problem that could go very badly. Instead of being preemptive because, you know, it's two-way rights and he's got a right to his First Amendment, we did nothing. His parents, parental units decided to do nothing and allowed the murder of 8 people. Now, if you know that your kid is losing their nut and is a violent misogynist with a sex addiction, it's not going to behoove you in your community of faith to let it go.
Oh
Your
yeah, honey, that's
job
what that
as
wait.
a
That's what those
pastor.
communities do. They just keep it all undercover. Yeah. So
Well,
we wanted to
okay,
yeah. You know,
I don't know. Is that
there's
what they really do?
yeah, yes, of course they do. Hi, knock knock.
Yeah,
Who's there?
just being.
Mormons. Yeah, they do. It's not just the Mormons that do it either. It's all cultures, all subcultures try to keep the dark from getting to the light. You know, I don't even know if it may be a part of human nature that we're so incapable of accepting responsibility for our own actions that we have to keep them hidden. I mean, the countless stories like that, and it's
Well,
time light
okay,
came to it, and we
and
address these issues.
going to in the same vein, but in a different direction. Adam Lanza's mom knew that he had severe problems, and yet enabled him by providing him with guns and training to make sure that he could kill all of those kindergartners. After he killed her. So I'm just telling you, people, if you know that your child is effed up, don't provide him with
Get them help.
weapons. Get them mental health
Get them the help
help.
they
I
need,
mean,
regardless of whether
God,
this guy was self hating because he really thought that God hated him and that Asian women were tempting him, or whether he just hated women or Asian women, or he just hated himself. It all comes down to hate. And we have to stop
Pastor,
teaching hate, and we have to stop
yeah,
accepting hate, and we
we
have
have
to
to
stop
stop making
hiding hate behind the
excuses.
First Amendment. That's
We can't
bullshit.
make excuses for hate, Marie.
Donate to
Because
AAPI, Women Lead.
uh, uh, Papa Pastor and Mama Pastor, your son will never spend another holiday with you ever. You will never be able to wrap your arms around him in a few days. He's
And
going to be
neither
going
will
away
8
forever.
other families.
Right, because you didn't take the action that you should have done. You didn't read Dying of Whiteness because you would have been forewarned that this was going to happen. I am sick to death that we had 6 mass shootings in the last 3 or 4 days here in the United States because we're starting to back off on our COVID limits. There was a double homicide in Sheridan, Illinois, not too far from me. And, we have to address the systemic gun issues that we have, the gun culture that we have, because the gun did not solve a goddamn thing. Oh, I gotta make a donation. When he murdered those 8 people, it didn't solve anything. It caused heartache and pain for people in perpetuity.
And we
And
can't get rid
we
of
have
that until we get rid of hate because the gun industry preys on fear and hate. So
on fear and
um,
hate.
we have to
So,
work on it. Guys, if you have any ideas on how the hell we get rid of hate, how we can open people's eyes, how we can address this from multiple levels, reach out to us. Reach out to your representative, your school board, your mayor, unless he's the guy who beats up BLM protesters, in which case you're kind of screwed. But reach
Roy,
out to someone and tell them that hate is hate, that there's no First Amendment protection for hate, and don't tolerate it. And
there's no,
donate. Instead of,
there's,
you can do something for us. You can watch us on
yeah,
Tuesdays and Thursdays,
yep.
share, like, subscribe, listen to our independent radio podcast, Heartland Mamas Unrolled. You can do all those things for us, but if you're feeling generous, donate to stopaapihate.org. They have multiple different groups within there that do some pretty amazing things
Yeah.
to fight against the hate that we're facing right
You
now.
know, and Marie, this is also not protected under the Second Amendment because the Second Amendment wasn't made to coddle murderers. And I get tired of people that come out and say, well, we can't do anything about the guns because, Second Amendment. But in this case, you're coddling a murderer. I have no problem with the gun because I'm going out in a few minutes to shoot a fox with my over and under. So
That just ate one of her chickens right before we
just killed one of
started.
my chickens.
Hate!
And
Why
if
the fox gotta hate the chicken? The
he
chicken
got it,
just
fox got to
minding
eat.
his business in the
Fox
head.
got to eat.
The
But you
fox
know
ate
what?
the
Chicken
chicken.
dumb because chicken has a fox-proof pen to live in and chooses to fly out.
Oh, well, that's our own fault then. All right,
It
folks.
is.
We hope we helped you understand that, the media said right away it was an Asian hate crime, and then it was a Christian crime, and then it was a woman crime. Let's just face it, it was a hate crime
It
of
was.
all different types of hate, and we have to stop that crap. So, if you like what you hear, like, subscribe, share, tune in very soon to hear us next Tuesday. Listen to Independent Radio. Check out our links on our website, and be sure to, if you have a chance, donate to Stop AAPI hate.org. And that link is on our Facebook, and we'll put it up on our website too. So tune in. Have a great day. Stay safe. We'll see you later.
Bye, everybody. Take care.